going on with this man? The whole creepiness factor of whispering. I'm going to point out some personality from this individual. Now, with whatever is wrong with him mentally, as it gets worse, irritation increases, but it doesn't change who they are. So let's look at a few things. This first one.
Hard, but it's necessary and it can get done. So I want to thank you all and God bless you. And now I'll take a few questions before the helicopter leaves without me from the press.
Mr. President.
So he always deflects with whatever's going on in his mind with a joke. I'm going to leave before the helicopter takes off without me. And his jokes come out as sarcasm. That is part of his personality. When you see that, you should just know something is stressing him. Obviously, we have no idea what it is. We can all take educated guesses, though.
Mr. President, what assurances do you have at this point that you have sufficient Democratic support both in the Senate and the House to move both on this bipartisan deal and on the reconciliation package?
You always ask me those things. Nobody knows for certain. It's your job, but you know it's not a reasonable question. And the reason I say that, I'm being critical. The idea of my telling you now that I know what every senator, how they're going to vote, is just not, I don't know that. I do know that among the roughly 20 bipartisan groups of senators and senators that I met with, well, only 10 were here today, but that group, that we had an agreement. For example, I talk about, well, why would Biden compromise? Well, when's the last time, if you had asked me whether or not I'd be able to get passenger rail service for $66 billion worth?
Now, as I have said before, he's not as far gone as people like to say he is. He knows the rumors, the whispers behind his back. And with whatever's going on mentally, paranoia is increased. Lashing out irritation is increased. So when we go through this, and we've already seen him start to become irritated with this journalist. Oh, I'm not lashing out. Technically, you are. And we're seeing the personality of old Joe come out. Let's go to that one real quickly.
It hurts you. That's not a satisfying answer. Biden said he'd invade Russia. It's not, By the way, that was a joke. That's not true. But my generic point is, it is more complicated than that.
So then you see him again. He deflects with the joke, and he's becoming irritated. This is the calmer irritation. By the way, that's a joke. This is a calmer irritation, which by the end of this, you'll understand something is really up. Now, this is really old Joe, or young Joe, being confronted on his many lies, because he is a liar, because he is a moron.
What law school did you attend, and where did you place in that class? And the other question is, could you quickly, I think
I probably have a much higher IQ than you do, I suspect. I went to law school on a full academic scholarship, the only one in my class to have a full academic scholarship. In the first year in law school, I decided I didn't want to be in law school and ended up in the bottom two-thirds of my class, and then decided I wanted to stay, went back to law school, and in fact ended up in the top half of my class. I won the International Moot Court.
So in this one, he has attacked him. Now remember the previous one we saw, there's only 10 people in there. And he goes in to try and verbalize what happened, but because he's mentally declining, he's not old Joe where he can just bring up his story that he's repeated multiple times in his head to tell people because of his mental decline. Remembering lies when you get old and your brain is starting to go isn't an easy task.
The hackers are believed to be living in Russia. At what point does the U.S. start to try to inflict pain on governments who allow this sort of thing to happen in their territory?
We are working to try to get to the place where we have sort of an international standard that governments...
Now this one is before the irritation really starts to get at him at the recent press conference. This journalist has asked him a tough question. He's slowing it down. He's not being his own personality. So it is slower and he needs help. It's outside of his personal norm. And when we go to his personal norm...
Largest investment ever since Amtrak came about. I asked for 90, you got $66 billion. Talk about public transit. $49 billion for public transit. When I raised that before, some of you looked at me like, where have you been, Biden? You've been spending too much in China or something.
His real personality's coming out. He knows about China. He knows what people say about him in China. And he's being himself. He's not trying to be polite or politically correct, which is normal for him to not be those things. And you see, it's easier for him to speak that way. His memory is gone, so he can't remember his lies like he used to. But it's easier for him to interact that way.
Mr. President, can you answer a question? Thank you so much. My question is on the timeline. There are families who are looking at the family plan and wondering when that help is coming. Can you talk, they said they're going to be promptly and in tandem, but can you say anything more about that? And what does this signal for future deals? There's still things like voting rights and policing reform that are not able to get bipartisan deals. What does this tell you? What have you learned in talking to Republicans about what could happen in the future?
Let me take, you asked 3 essay questions, and legitimate questions. Well, you asked 3 of them. And the first one related to what again?
The first one's on the timeline. When do you think this to track?
And you said when people are waiting for relief.
So you see this woman ask this question that is going to trigger him. And she's being very polite. You see that she's kind of tilted to the side. She knows these are loaded questions and it might trigger him. So she's trying to make herself a little bit smaller and coming down to the side in a way that says, I'm not trying to bite you. Just please answer my question nicely.
I got them $1.9 trillion relief so far. They're going to be getting checks in the mail that are consequential this week for childcare.
And then you see this, because this is Joe's personality. He is stressed. He is acting out.
And these are really tough decisions, Senator. I don't in any way dismiss what Senator Murphy says about the environment. Don't dismiss it at all. Just remind him, I wrote the bill on the environment. Why would I not be for it?
I wrote the bill. He wrote the first draft. And then somebody else smarter came through and fixed all his mistakes. Which, you know, the whispers about what people say is going on behind closed doors. There are so many times that he became so irritated that the whispering came out and his sarcasm manifested heavily. That I would say this is the point when everyone should sit there and come to consensus. This is the day that Joe Biden could no longer keep it together. The polite, politically correct Joe Biden. And now we have the irritated, grumpy, old man who is going to be snapping at people.
If you'd like to learn more about analysing body language, there is a video course available on Mandy's website for Gold subscribers, where Mandy teaches more about her techniques of deception detection. There's also other content such as the Crime series and Interesting Minds series, available to both Gold and Silver subscribers.
If you like it, please share and subscribe. Thanks for watching.
I would like to thank the sponsor of this video, Fero. Fero is one of the few cryptocurrency projects that I respect. Unlike most other cryptocurrencies, Fero is focused on safeguarding your financial privacy without compromising on trustlessness, which means no third parties are required, and transactions are private by default. Fero also has an exciting roadmap to look forward to. Features such as Instant Send, where payments can both be sent and confirmed within seconds. There's also Elysium, which adds tokenization functionality similar to Ethereum, but it also enables these assets to enjoy Fero's privacy technology. There's many more things on the roadmap, and if you'd like to learn more, head over to fero.org.